Hello, everyone, and welcome to Health and Happiness at Work. This podcast is for busy working adults trying to figure out how to better take care of themselves and others. My name is Katie, and I will be your host. We are here today because adulting is hard and because busy working adults spend more time at work than anywhere else. We're going to have real conversations about real life and, most importantly, swing into action on the biggest opportunities. We're going to talk about ways to layer health, fitness, and wellness directly into your workday so that you feel fantastic. I cannot wait to dive deeper into each of these topics related to health and happiness. You are not alone. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2. This is Katie. I want to tell you a little bit about what to expect in this episode and future episodes. So my thinking is let's keep it interesting. Let's not be so predictable that it's the exact same format every time. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. So my vision is that some episodes will cover many topics related to health and happiness, and some episodes will take a deeper dive on very specific focus areas. So today, for instance, we are talking about maximizing your morning. And with that, we will cover a lot of different areas that tie to healthy habits in the morning. And when I come back next time for episode 3, we'll go a slightly different direction. So this, I think, will give us good variety between, again, deeper learning and staying action-oriented. Because the most important thing that we can do day over day in terms of enjoying this process of wellness is staying action-oriented and trying and doing new things and not getting stuck in this place of thinking and learning alone. Thinking and learning is great, but thinking is not the best get-motivated strategy. Thinking keeps us thinking and sometimes keeps us overanalyzing and sometimes keeps us stuck. So with that, I am aspiring to give you very clear, tangible takeaways, things that you can choose to layer and apply into your day. That said, we've already reviewed wellness being a process. I wanted to add to that today and say wellness is also highly personal. What does that mean? What that means is that my approach or what works for me is going to be potentially very different than what works for the person next to me and so on and so forth. We are very interesting beings in that we all have personalities and preferences. And with that, what we need from a wellness perspective is highly personal. And you'll hear me say that a lot of times. So when I offer up ideas today, I am not coming at it from a place of you must do this or do that. That's not good wellness coaching, actually. I'm going to put a lot of things on the table, and I'll invite you to pick it up and consider it and make it your own so that it does feel like a right fit and work for you. So here we are talking about maximize your morning. You may be hearing this and thinking to yourself, oh, hell no, I am not a morning person. You might be that person that is binge watching Netflix all night long and you're that night owl. And hey, night owls, there's a lot of evidence that being a night owl is tied to intelligence. So high five, you night owls. That is not me. I am more of a morning person. Let me say that just because I'm a morning person doesn't mean that I jump out of bed and skip across the bedroom at 5 a.m. like, oh, it's a new day. No, I still hit snooze. I still struggle. I cuddle my cats. I delay and procrastinate. But once I do get up, I love my morning routine. So what I am offering up and suggesting today is that we can figure out what that looks like for you. And so regardless of what time of day you wake up, you can still have a morning routine. So this is me saying it doesn't have to be 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. It can be whatever it is for you. But once your feet hit the floor and you start to do your morning, having a ritual or a routine that you enjoy and look forward to can be a pretty kick-ass way to start the day. Why do we care about that? Well, you've likely heard the saying, so-and-so got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, because it can happen. We can have a rough or rocky start to the day. where you oversleep, your kids are talking back, you're late, you didn't get to eat, you forgot to eat, you don't feel like you're put together. It can unfold a lot of different ways. And then you're starting the day super frazzled and harried, and it kind of continues because like attracts like. So if that's how you're starting your day and there's a pattern of starting your day like that, it can totally wear on your mood and how you're showing up at work. So as promised with this podcast, we are consistently going to be tying this content back to the workday and back to your life. So my area of expertise is really layering wellness into the workday and into the workplace. And again, in addition to that, we're going to look at life because there's more to life than work. And we want to show up at our best at work and love our work and feel our personal and professional best, but then also love life. So lots of good talk today about work and life, and again, setting ourselves up for success in those early morning hours or whatever the morning hours look like for you. Routines are interesting to me. I find people to be fascinating, and I'm an extrovert. You probably have figured that out already, but I find it really interesting to talk to people, learn about people, what they do, what they don't do, why they do what they do. And what I have discovered over the last 14 plus years of doing what I do is that we all have routines and rituals, even if we don't consider ourselves to be really structured people. Like I'm someone who's actually not super structured. People might be surprised to hear that. I actually have the nickname the tornado because I enter a room and I kind of fling things everywhere. So I'm not a super structured person, but that said, I have realized that I still have routines and rituals and things that I do consistently, even as an unstructured person. And it's likely that you also have routines and rituals that are similar in the morning hours and in the evening hours. So I'm inviting you to look at that. In talking to friends and family and people over the years, you know what your routine is. And I've spoken to people who say, yep, I drive through the exact same McDonald's every single morning and I get the exact same thing. And that's their routine. And other people, it looks really different. Some people, it starts with a 3-mile run. We all get to choose. It's highly personal. So we have a wide variety of ways we're starting the day. And what's interesting to me is that some of these routines and rituals may be unhealthy, but we continue to do them anyways. So I had a habit for a while of, again, hitting the exact same Tim Hortons every single morning. Because for me, I'm a coffee girl, and I wasn't indulging in all the things at Tim Hortons, but I was always going to that same one, getting that same giant coffee. And it was fine. It served me well, but did I need extra coffee? Probably not. I already have a strong enough habit, but I was doing it anyways. So I just offer this up because we have those things that we do. And even though they may be unnecessary, we still do them. So why do we do them? We do them because there's comfort in routine. It's familiar. We like to feel comfortable. So it's a thing that we do, these things over and over. So my invitation to you out the gate is to look at your morning routine, your morning ritual, and say, what do I love and what gets to go? Or you might say, what morning routine? I actually don't have one, and every day is different, and it's kind of chaos, and I want it to be different. I love the morning because it's quiet in my house. I will tell you a little bit more about myself. I have a husband. I have 2 girls, 2 little girls. They are 8 and 9. I joke that they're 8 going on 18. They are sassy, and someday that will serve them well. So it's a lot of work. And in the morning, it's quiet. And I have 6 cats. Oh my gosh. I just revealed to the whole world just how crazy of a cat lady I am. So when I get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., it's me and the cats, and it's quiet. And I love my morning routine. And the whole family knows when they get up and someone says, where's mommy? The other person says, doing her morning routine. And so I love that my family knows that. They know that that's what I need to start my day successfully. They know that that's what brings me joy and comfort, and they're respecting it. And then I feel really good because I'm modeling something really healthy for my kids. So that's a little bit about my why and how I've come to really look forward to getting up and doing my routine, even if it is hard to get up because I'm tired and it's maybe a little early. Where I want to head next is to dive into very specific considerations for creating and crafting your morning routine or your morning rituals. I think the first area of opportunity is to find some consistency with sleep-wake hours. So your sleep-wake cycle, your circadian rhythms, this is a thing. You have a natural rhythm that your body likely gravitates toward. And this can vary person to person, which is why we have some people that prefer morning and some people that prefer evening. That said, if you are trying to get up earlier for whatever reason to take advantage of those early morning hours, it will involve looking at your evening routine to say what needs to be different for this to even happen. Because if you're trying to get up at 5 a.m. because you have this big list of things you want to do, it will involve going to bed at a different time. And so it's this whole chain of events that actually has to shift to set you up for success. So what some people do is they actually set an alarm for when it's time to go to bed, for when it's time to start to power down. And we can take a whole episode, if we want, to dive into the evening routine. But sometimes the evening routine has to shift to support the morning routine. And what we talked about last episode is that the happiest people are averaging 8 hours of sleep per night. So this is a good goal as well. Sleep is a whole nother topic that we could spend a lot of time on, and I'm happy to do that. But as you can see already, wellness is integrative. When we look at adopting or shifting one habit, there are so many other moving parts that can influence that habit. So as we're talking about this, you might get clear on something else that needs time and attention to get to that point where you maximize your morning. So we consider what time we go to bed, we consider how are we getting quality sleep, enough volume of sleep, and we find that recurring time of day we can go to bed and that recurring time of day that we can wake up. Experts suggest keeping this consistent regardless of the day of the week. So rather than having a Monday through Friday schedule and then a different Saturday and Sunday schedule, that can be kind of hard. I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure millions of people do it, but just something to consider. Another way to support your sleep-wake schedule is to step into natural light. So depending on where you work and how your home is situated, you may not be getting a ton of exposure to natural light. We talked about this in the last episode as well. We know that we are living creatures, living beings, and we know that we need exposure to natural daylight. And when we do that, it really does help your circadian rhythms to establish that sleep-wake cycle. So one thing you might choose to do is open the curtains, have more daylight coming in, stepping out into natural light. So what some people find in the fall and winter when we are losing daylight during the day, people will find that there's a change in mood, a change in feelings. We miss the daylight, right? And so there's evidence that light therapy, aka a happy light, can be really effective for boosting mood and improving sleep and normalizing those circadian rhythms. I can speak firsthand that my happy light is hands down the best $30 I've ever spent and my favorite thing on my desk. And I would make a case for having many happy lights, honestly. And it's not something that you stare into. It's something that shines on you. So it is a little off to the side in your workspace. And for me, when I transition to my office in the morning to do some dedicated things, one of the first thing I do is turn on that happy light. I have this really warm light shining again on me, not into my eyes. And I find it to be profoundly beneficial in increasing my energy and my levels of alertness. I have lots of good things to say. You'll have to try it for yourself, but something to consider if you're looking to positively impact your mood and sleep, either during those seasonal changes or maybe you want to use it all year long. Another way we can support sleeping better, which in turn makes it easier to get up and start the day, is to increase physical activity. So when people aren't sleeping well, one of the first things I ask is, how active are you? Some of us are exhausted at the end of the day because we're mentally exhausted. Some of us are tired at the end of the day because we're physically exhausted. As a small business owner in the health, fitness, and wellness space, I'm both. I am so done making decisions for the day, and I'm physically exhausted because I've potentially done hundreds of minutes of physical activity. So if you are someone who is not currently active, meaning you are a professional sitter, you sit all day, every day, and you're awesome at sitting, we have an opportunity to get you awesome at moving more, because moving more will allow you to sleep better. And many people are just not sleeping well. The national recommendation, standard guideline for physical activity is 150 minutes a week. I see it all. I see people that are getting 0 minutes of physical activity every week, and I see people who are getting 150 minutes a day. So huge spectrum. You can sit here in this moment and self-assess where you are on that spectrum, but it can be a really huge opportunity for sleep. And that recommendation, FYI, is for reduced health risk. If you are someone who is looking to change your body composition, you want your clothes to fit differently, you want to look differently, that number increases. But I offer it up today as a means to improve this sleep-wake schedule, which will in turn support us in maximizing the morning. All right, let's shift the conversation to boosting metabolism. I think that is an idea that many people can get on board with. A lot of people will come to me for support, again, in changing things related to nutrition, changing outcomes related to body weight. So let's talk about ways to boost metabolism in the early morning hours. One of the best recommendations I can make is to drink a glass of water the moment your feet hit the floor. So if you wake up in the morning and you are already thirsty, that is your body telling you that it's already slightly dehydrated. As you likely know, the human body is mostly water, about 2/3 water. Your cells rely heavily on water to do all the things, many metabolic processes. And the cells and your metabolism cannot be efficient and effective if you're dehydrated. So super simple to wake up and have a glass of water. I don't know how many of you already do that. But again, keeping it super simple is good for compliance and actually doing it. And I like to say that old school is new school. You know, sometimes the basics, getting back to basics, like the human body needs water. And it's crazy. You wouldn't think that I would need to ever teach about hydration. You would think that would be like, nope, America's hydrated, we're good. But that is not a thing. People come to me all the time and say, I hate water. You hate water? You don't drink water? What? What's going on? I can't relate to that. But there's still a population of people who are not drinking water. And maybe they're drinking other things all day long. Maybe they're caffeinated. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're sugary. Maybe they're not. But your body needs water, and it needs it first thing in the morning. There's also evidence that if you drink warm water, if you add the juice of half a lemon, it is really supportive to the immune system and the lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system is helping to detoxify and push things through the body. And again, the body needs water to do things. And as you start to improve your nutrition, you're eating more plant-based, you're eating more protein, your body needs water to push all of this throughout the body. We also know that when we're even slightly dehydrated, it can get really hard to focus. You can feel really foggy. And so this is just a really winning way to start the day. So for me, my feet hit the floor. All the cats follow me like I'm the Pied Piper because they need and want things also. That's a really good visual for you. Walk down into the kitchen. The house is quiet. I'm the only one awake. If you could see me right now, I'm raising the roof. It is a beautiful thing when the house is quiet and I can do whatever I want with my time. So from there, I get a glass of water. I drink the full glass of water. I have to put it in the sink because otherwise the cats will knock it off the counter and I'll be cleaning up broken glass. You know, cats are kind of jerks and they like to knock the water off the counter. So got to drink the whole water, put it in the sink, and I am right to the coffee pot. So if you are a coffee lover, more on that in a minute because coffee gives me superpowers and I can't wait to tell you all the things about coffee, but we have to get hydrated first. Shifting gears again, we can use the early morning hours to prepare our mind. That can look a lot of different ways. Meditation is another topic that we could spend quite a bit of time on, and trust me, we will. And maybe you have a meditation practice, maybe you don't. What I really want to focus on today is this idea that meditation can look a lot of different ways. I oftentimes think that when I talk about meditation, people immediately picture in their mind somebody's legs folded up across their lap, their hands held a certain way, their spine tall, and they don't move for 30 minutes. And they're seeking enlightenment, kind of that standard meditation visual. And meditation can look like that, but oftentimes does not look like that. Meditation can look a lot of different ways. And when you are new to meditation, it might look like you sitting on the couch for 60 seconds, paying attention to your breath. It really just looks like stillness. And I would argue that we live in a day and age where there is just not a lot of stillness. I use this reminder oftentimes when I teach in the evening and I'm creating space for people to lie down and rest and meditate. And I'll say, this may be the first chance today where you've had an opportunity and an invitation to be still and do nothing. Let that be the motivation. Let that be something you look forward to, right? Because we spend plenty of time all day, every day, running around, trying to do things, trying to do it all. As a small business owner and as a health coach, I am trying to pack a lot into each day. And I have to remind myself, I get to slow down and I get to be still. And when I do make space for that, it can be really special time. And so it does not have to look like the cover of the meditation book. It can look like you sitting quietly, being still, and allowing your mind to focus. It's really focus time, and it's time for stillness. And those are two beautiful things. If you need more support with getting started, we will revisit this topic several times over upcoming episodes. We can also use this time in the morning to take a moment to breathe. The cool thing about breath work, which is just noticing the breath, inhaling and exhaling through the nose, allowing it to come a little deeper into the body, into the belly. This simple practice of mindful breathing for just a few minutes actually improves the efficiency of your breath, the balance of the day subconsciously. So breathing is this beautiful natural reflex we all have. We don't have to say to ourselves, inhale and exhale all day long to do it. Our body just does it. That said, there's a thing called email apnea where people are holding their breath as they check their inbox. Researchers have been looking at this, and it's that anticipation of what's to come. When life gets uncomfortable and uncertain, we tend to hold our breath. That is a thing. So I invite you to notice moments in the day when you are holding your breath in anticipation of what's coming or because you're uncomfortable. Look for those opportunities to breathe again and use some time in the morning to practice that. It is so cliche to say, take 3 deep breaths anytime you're stressed and you'll feel okay. People say that all the time. Take 3 deep breaths, step away from the situation. So it sounds super cliche, but this totally falls into that category of knowing and hearing it, but maybe you don't do it. So this is an invitation to just practice a little bit of breath work first thing in the morning to set the stage for the balance of the day. I mentioned that meditation can look a lot of different ways. Meditation is focus time, focus thinking, and there's such a thing as a moving meditation, and there's such a thing as a writing meditation. And this is really my jam. I, during the pandemic, have started this morning journaling routine that has absolutely transformed my life. I wrote a blog on it last night called Not Your Teenage Journal, because when we were teens, the journaling was very dramatic, very secret, very telling, and it was different. It was more about our woes. People weren't talking about gratitude in their teenage journal. They were processing all the things. But my adult journal, way different. It's occurred to me that my morning journaling routine really is a writing meditation. And there is a type of meditation that does focus on putting pen to paper, and that is called contemplation. It is sitting with an open-ended question, allowing your thoughts to come up and putting pen to paper to see what comes out. It's pretty awesome. Like anything else, I anticipate it takes practice. And again, I have to be really mindful to remind you that this is not a one-size-fits-all. Just because Katie loves journaling and it's her jam doesn't mean everybody has to journal. I'm just telling you about my experience, and maybe there's some piece of this that you'll say, ooh, that's interesting. I want to try that, and make it your own. But through this process of journaling every single morning, I literally can't start my day without it. Like next week, I'm traveling, and I said to myself, if nothing else gets packed, I'm packing the journal. And the journal, I make it a creative and artistic expression as well, because I have all the colored pens and markers and office supplies, which are also my jam. And so it's a moment of focused thinking. It's a moment of self-discovery. It's a moment of reflection. It's a moment of creativity and artistic expression. It is checking a lot of boxes for me. So this could look a lot of different ways, but it could be that doing some type of writing exercise in the morning would also serve you well. So what I want to share with you next is a few ways that I really lean into this journaling practice, and you might love it, you might leave it. In the morning, I identify my affirmation for the day. An affirmation is an I statement. You've likely heard this encouragement before. And I choose an affirmation for the week, and I keep it the same every single day for an entire week. I write the exact same sentence on repeat 7 times for 7 days. Underneath my affirmation, I declare an intention. This is something I'm committed to doing or creating, something that I am putting out into the world as a promise, as something I'm intending to do. The next morning, I come back to the previous day, and I also add 2 other details. I add all of my wins. It simply says wins in all caps with an exclamation point, and this is anything I'm celebrating. You might ask, is this the same as a gratitude list? Not totally the same. To me, gratitude is what you're thankful for. Of course, I'm thankful for my wins, but this is more celebratory. What good news, what success, what achievements. When you look at models of well-being, accomplishment and achievement are huge pillars of that. So I call this wins category a huge opportunity for staying really focused on the positive and really focused on achievements. Finally, underneath that, I have a prompt that says about today. And I go back again to that day before, and I write a 1-sentence summary about the day. Something I learned, something I discovered, something I want to do differently, something that summarizes the day. And again, so simple, but it's my favorite part of the day. So I just wanted to share that with you. Continuing along with this idea of preparing your mind for the day, we've talked about meditation, we've talked about breath work, we've talked about writing as a means to express or focus. You might also choose that you simply want to read. Maybe you want to read something that inspires and lifts you up. I'm a huge fan of books that offer up 1 page a day, 1 page of learning, 1 takeaway, day-by-day books. I think those are nice, digestible reads, but it could really be anything that lifts you up and serves you well. All right, we have gone a lot of different directions. Let's talk a little bit more about the physical body. I meet hundreds, if not thousands of people who are really trying to figure out what physical activity can look like. There is a lot of pressure, I think, to try morning workouts. And people will say to me, I should probably get up early and do cardio on an empty stomach, and maybe that would help me. And hey, yeah, sure. There is evidence that fasting and morning workouts is great for boosting metabolism. But here's the thing. If you're not going to do it, if you're going to hit snooze, if you're going to sleep in, if you're going to try and fail, and I hate to say fail, but if you're going to try and try and try and day in and day out, it's not happening, it's not really a failure. It's that it's just not a good time of day for you. You might be someone who would be better suited to layering it into a different time of day. So please don't feel like the only way to exercise is first thing in the morning, because it can look a lot of different ways. We are going to be happy no matter what time of day it happens. The most important thing with that is consistency. Now, that said, there is something to be said and special about moving your body in the early morning hours. Again, it's not my preference. There are other times of day where I would rather exercise, but I do teach some early morning classes because that's what my students want. And so I'm there for them. I'm their fearless leader. And so today I did a 7 a.m. class. Again, it's not my favorite time of day to work out, but 10 out of 10 times I feel better afterwards than I did before. It never lets me down. I never finish the workout and think, oh, that was a bad idea. Never. I know the getting started part is hard. And I know part of the reason I'm so consistent is because I'm the teacher and I have to be there. And people are paying me to be there. So that does help. I acknowledge that. But when you move, when you breathe, when blood and oxygen is flowing through your body, you have that immediate benefit of feel-good endorphins. So if you are someone who is looking to shift your mood first thing in the morning, if you are looking to support your mental health, if you were looking to have more energy, and if you're looking to check the box and say, I did it today, sometimes the early morning hours are a safe space, right? Where you're not likely to get pulled away to do other things. Sometimes during the workday, we are not in sole control of our calendar. It depends on if you're self-employed or not. But as someone who's been self-employed for 14 years, I am oftentimes pulled by my clients. So although I'm trying to have great work boundaries, I'm also trying to make a living. And so I will flex my boundaries and my needs to opportunities with my clients. So I acknowledge that the workday, whether you're self-employed or not, can pull you away and your time is shared. But that early morning time is more likely to be yours, and even more so when the tiny people are sleeping and not tugging at your leg and asking for things. So the early morning hours could be a nice time to start with some movement. And let's also talk about rethinking what this looks like. I also think there's this common limiting belief that a workout has to look a certain way for it to count. That's not true. 10 minutes is way better than 0 minutes. And it could be that once you do 10 minutes, you'll say, I don't want to stop. I want to do 10 more. So it doesn't have to be 45 minutes. It doesn't have to be 60 minutes. It doesn't have to be fasting. It doesn't have to be at 5 a.m. I invite you to try something that you're willing to do and see how you feel. And if it's not for you, great, let it go. Find the time of day that it is for you, but it's worth trying. My next tip really circles back to this idea of being intentional. Earlier, I shared that I do write an intention for myself each morning, something I'm committed to doing or creating. I find it to be really beneficial in shaping my attitude for the day, if I'm being honest. So I would invite you to look for ways to do that, and I have several to share with you now if the journaling thing is not for you. Perhaps you want to be more intentional with your productivity. You could use the morning hours to identify your 3 most important action items for the day. Some action items are one and done, and some action items are recurring. So get clear on which ones need to be recurring and consistent in your life to produce a result. Get clear on which ones are one and done, and identify 3 actions you can take each morning that will move you toward your personal and professional goals. Part of being intentional in the day may involve reaching out to someone, connecting with someone, supporting someone, checking in on someone you haven't spoken to in a while, showing up and being a positive presence for someone, letting them know that you're thinking about them. We can set intentions around people and relationships that we want to lean into. We can be intentional by packing food for the day. No one benefits from being hangry. And oftentimes when we don't have food on hand, we reach for whatever is easy and fast and convenient and sounds good in the moment. But we can save time, money, and calories by preparing ahead and packing and having some things on hand and being intentional. Again, we have to make time and space for this to happen. I don't need to sit here and tell you about meal prep. It's easy to Google that and figure it out. What people struggle with is doing it making time for it, carving out space. And so these morning hours, this is time where you can make space. You can be intentional by time blocking your day. Time blocking does not come easily to me. I'm someone that's continually working on boundaries. I'm someone who's super distracted by shiny objects and whatever's fun in the moment. And so time blocking is very tricky for me to have that focused time. So I'm still working on it. I am absolutely getting better. There's a new app on my laptop that is awesome that asks me each morning if I want to schedule focus time. And then I say, why, yes, I do. And it shows me on my calendar where I have focus time. So that is really working for me. But you may choose to time block and look at your day and identify some boundaries. And if you're struggling with boundaries, you're not alone. It's time well spent figuring that out. I think my last recommendation for being intentional at the beginning of the day is slowing down just enough to notice what you're carrying in to your workday as you transition from your morning hours, your morning routine to your workday. Because again, depending on how the morning unfolds, you might notice that you're carrying around something kind of icky, like a mood or a frustration or something that happened at home that you're carrying into your workday. And this is a moment where, again, if it's on the radar, you can pause and say, okay, I'm feeling kind of icky right now. It's kind of crazy getting the kids to school on time, or we had an argument, or something didn't go to plan. But in this moment, I'm going to let it go. Because what happens is it's really easy to carry these feelings and these emotions and these moods into our workday. And depending on the type of work that you have, that can be super challenging and not easy to do, but worth doing. And that transition time from morning to work, I think, could unfold better and different if you're finding that you're carrying something with you. Just a couple more tips here to explore for maximizing your morning. Next, I want to talk about not only being intentional, but being proactive and swinging into action. One thing I'm super proud of is I get really good feedback from my friends and my network who follow me on social media, and they'll say, Katie, I don't know how you do it all. And in that moment, I accept the compliment because I am proud. I do a lot of different things. I maximize not only my morning, but the entire day, and it feels really good, and I love my life, and I'm super proud of it. So I feel very confident talking about how to be proactive and action-oriented in your day and in your morning. I invite you to use your morning routine to do what I call a nesting routine. Now, this is going to sound funny. My nesting routine is where I organize my desk, my space, my environment, because piles stress me out. It's a common thing for me to organize in piles, but sometimes my piles start to wear on me. So if you walk into your workspace, either your home workspace or your office workspace, and this is still your morning routine, you might find you need a little nesting ritual to get that environment quite right. If there are things on your desk that are staring at you and distracting you from the focused work that you need to do, take a few moments upon arrival to deal with it. And I used to beat myself up like, man, I'm spending way too much time yutzing around, like just procrastinating. I almost saw it as procrastinating. And then I had this realization of, no, it's okay, because this is making my environment work for me, not against me. So taking some time to shift and adjust your environment can help you to organize your desk, your thoughts. You can make lists, print documents, pack your bag. What I do is I spend time in my home office in the morning, and then I eventually transition to my workplace office. Now, with the pandemic, many of us, and sometimes me included, are working from home. So in a future episode, I am going to focus specifically on work from home. But right now, I'm kind of speaking to this idea that maybe you are transitioning from home to workplace. So for me, I spend some time in my home office doing organizing and actions that are going to set up my day for success once I get to the office. One of the things I do is I delete all of the junk mail I can get my hands on. Anything that's in a junk folder goes away. Anything that's past junk gets away. Because if I were to approach my email chronologically, oh God, I would get in the weeds, right? Because each email demands something different. So I want to clear the clutter first. So all the junk gets to go. Anything that I can delegate or unsubscribe from gets drug into a folder for somebody else to deal with. So I am left with a focused inbox. But rather than focusing on today's email, this will typically be like 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. for me. Rather than looking at today's inbox, which is slowly starting to fill, I look at yesterday's inbox. And my goal is to deal with as much of yesterday's inbox as humanly possible. Because yesterday's inbox is finite and today's inbox is just going to keep growing. So you're kind of trying to deal with yesterday's email and trying to chase today's email, and today's email is bottomless. So we want to go to the finite portion of the inbox, and I've just found that this works really well for me. I call it Yestermail. Pretty sure I learned this from someone else. I apologize. I'm probably not giving the right person credit, so I don't know who to attribute it to. I was introduced to it from a business coach, and Yestermail is the bomb. Works really, really well for me. So delete the junk, tackle the Yestermail, get as focused as you can, get rid of the rest. Okay, here's my favorite tip from the entire morning. One of the things I do is send a few emails that are important and require a response from someone else, and I intentionally send them before I get in the shower. You're probably like, where is this headed? I send it before I get in the shower because I'm asking something of someone else, right? So the sooner I get it to them, the sooner I'm going to get a response. And I tell you what, it takes me a long time to do my hair and makeup and all that stuff. So getting that email out before I shower gets it out, a couple of hours ahead of me even getting to the office. So not only are you putting things in motion before you start getting yourself ready for the day, you are likely to have some responses back by the time you start your workday. So this is like a pre-work day for me, where I deal with the inbox, send some things I need a response on, then shower, then start the real workday. So my pre-work day totally sets me up for success for the real workday because I'm getting a couple of hours head start. And the added bonus is that people will say, Katie, you are up and at it. I get emails from you at 6:30 in the morning. And so you're modeling this up and at it, slaying the day behavior, right? And it's very doable. It's not do your whole to-do list in the morning. It's just sprinkle some actions into the morning, and it will inspire others because they'll really notice, like, wow, she is up and at it. And I like that. I like that feedback. Our final segment for today is about getting and staying energized as a result of the morning routine. So as I mentioned previously, what gets you going, what energizes you is personal. What works for me and my family might look really different in your family. I'm just going to offer up some ideas. My first suggestion is to create a happy playlist to start the day. I know I have another friend that does this, and the whole house is like having a morning dance party, and that's pretty sweet. I do this in the car with my kids. One of the things I've started doing with my kids is teaching them how to make a playlist. They help me to make the playlists for my classes, my workouts that I teach. But they have so much fun with this. They're bouncing in the back seat. The whole car is kind of jamming and happy. And then when I really want to have fun, I roll down the window and I car dance in the pickup drop-off line for school. And then my daughter's like, Mom, everybody's looking at you. I'm like, I don't care. I'm happy. I'm having a good time. We just had a dance party on the way to school. I cannot wait till she gets into high school and I get to do that. So you can energize yourself simply with music, right? Music and movement. So a playlist that you love to start your day. You might say, okay, music's not my thing. Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's an audiobook. Maybe it's talking to someone that you adore, that you miss, and having that early morning moment of connection. That can be energizing, right? Leaning into relationships that are really supportive. We need support from other people. Here's my favorite one in this category is caffeinate. Coffee lovers, do your thing. I love coffee. I am caffeinated for you right now. And If you research the health benefits of coffee, it's a real thing. We can't say that about some beverages that have lots of sugar. Now, my coffee doesn't have any sugar, so we need to be mindful of the sugar and the syrups and that kind of thing. Not all coffee is created equal, but coffee lovers, there are benefits to drinking coffee. There's actually some evidence that it protects your skin from certain types of cancer. There is some evidence that it improves athletic performance, quite a bit of evidence that it improves athletic performance. It can help with focus. It can help with creativity. I joke that a special part of my brain opens up when I drink coffee. It's like the gates of something open and the ideas start flowing. So coffee is a stimulant. We don't want to abuse stimulants, but there is some evidence about some healthy outcomes related to coffee. And if we're consuming it mindfully and staying hydrated and noticing if we're sensitive to caffeine, we certainly do not want to abuse coffee, but there is a place for coffee in the morning routine if it is something that you adore and you're looking to fuel performance and creativity. Oh, this is a funny story. I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it. My team at Wellness Collective, they always laugh out loud a little bit in team meetings when I say, "Oh, I had a shower thought." And they know what a shower thought is. A shower thought is I'm all caffeinated and I get in the shower and my brain just starts populating all of these ideas. It's like, I think because showering is kind of mindless, I don't have to think about scrubbing my hair or whatever, so my mind is free to go other places. So coffee plus a shower, and I have the best business ideas, the best inspiration. So I invite you to caffeinate, see if you discover your own shower thoughts and how that might support your workday. And then finally, we touched a little bit about environment, having a tidy environment, having music that lifts you up, having affirmations and visual things around you that are positive reminders. You can influence your environment with something like aromatherapy. There are oils that are uplifting, citrus scents, and so forth. So your environment can really energize you or have the opposite adverse effect. So friends, we went a lot of different directions today. And I'm excited to continue the conversation. As I mentioned, we will have episodes where we hone in on a specific focus area or two and look at how that focus area impacts health and happiness. We will also have episodes like today that touch on a wide variety of topics and are more action-oriented and application-focused. Because again, we want to know and learn and understand, but we also want to apply and swing into action. That said, I cannot wait to see you next time for episode 3.